balance can mean something also different to you today than it did a year ago, or maybe in a different phase of your life. That self compassion, that kindness, like it's okay if your life doesn't look like what it looked like a year ago or years ago. It is not supposed to. Life today is different than it was then. Balance is difficult, I think, for people to achieve because they're not really defining what it is to them. I don't believe there's ever a 50-50 balance, right?
Yeah.
Like whatever part of life. I like to think of it actually as life is a pie. Like we have a pie and it's life. And different parts of your life, different times in your life, that pie looks a
Yeah.
little different,
Mhm.
right?
Mm.
Maybe there's a time that you're like 80% home life, 80% family, and like 10% work and 10%, social or, whatever it is. I think it's never really 50-50. So we have to get away from that
I love
thinking
that.
that it should be.
Hey, Dr. Rachel, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. We're so excited to get into the conversation with you today.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here with both of you and just really looking forward to it. So let's do it.
So I guess like to kick things off, I know a lot of our listeners that are tuning in today, are a lot of women who are busy. They lead really busy lives. They're working in a 9 to 5. Maybe they've got families that they're taking care of, kids taking the to-do list is endless. And I think that a lot of our listeners, the women that tune into the podcast, are always looking at how do they fill their cup up? How can they actually take a break without feeling like everything's going to fall apart or that they're being quote unquote like lazy, and really just being able to find themselves again and really coming back to themselves. So I'd love to dive into some of the work that you're doing. I know that you really serve a lot of the women who feel stuck in their lives and really bringing them back to themselves. And we're going to talk about your upcoming book here later on in the podcast, but would really just love to just dive into the work that you're doing, Dr. Rachel, and how you're serving these women and just yeah, starting there.
Yeah, great. So first I want to say, given what you just said, like for the women that are listening and feeling stuck and maybe not finding that time, I want us to just take a moment and actually right now reframe even this moment, right? Because if you are taking the time to listen to this, if you're tuning in right now to listen, that's already taking a step towards creating, and I'm very mindful with the words that I use, eating that time for yourself, but it's about reframing the way we think about it, right? Like this right here, right now is an act of self-care, actually, right? Like people are decided to show up, to listen today, to take time out of their day. Maybe you're walking to work, maybe you're in the car, maybe you're doing something else at the same time, but that's okay. A lot of women, moms, but women in general, we're always on the go and we have to literally create those moments. And this is an example of that. We are creating the time that while I'm doing XYZ, I'm going to tune in, I'm going to listen. And I think that's really important because we have so much to do, right? As women, the mental load, everything going on in our lives, that it's really easy to just be like, I don't have time. I don't have time. I don't have time, right? The endless to-do list is just endless and piling up. And it's all about just the way that we think about things. Like we don't necessarily have time, but we can create the time, right? If we want to. And that's the key. It's finding the time and creating it. So, like, I often remind people like you could be cooking dinner and like take some mindful breaths at the same time, some intentional breaths. Like maybe you didn't have time to like really participate in self care or breathe or relax today, but you can do it while you're doing something else. And that's okay. Right. I think it's all how we define these things and then decide to move forward.
I really love that. The creating the time. And also, you talk about just the reframe, right? And I think that a lot of times when we're moving through life, we're moving through challenges, things that come up with a lot of resistance. It's just that simple thing that we could do is doing that reframe. And I know that you talk a lot about the different things that can really support our mental health, that can support us during these transitional times in our lives. And so, what would be some of the things that you find a lot of these women are experiencing that they may not necessarily openly talk about, but they're experiencing and being able to just shed the light on some of those things and also sharing some practical tips on what can they do to do those little reframes or bring in those moments of time back into their days.
Yeah. So I think today there's so much going on that people are kind of going through or struggling with. It could be a different phase of your life. Like maybe you're going through or trying to get pregnant. Maybe you just had a child. Maybe you're going through perimenopause. Maybe you hit menopause. Like it could be, endless things, feeling stuck at your job, feeling like you want to try something new. You know, I think again, the list is kind of endless. And I think regardless of where we are, a few reminders I like to remind people. One is it's just a phase, right? Like it's temporary. Whatever we're going through is temporary. We will get through it. We've been through other difficult or challenging times and we will get through it again. And I think that's really important to remember because in the moment, we feel like we're stuck and there's no way out. And it's a very common thought, right? Like most of us have those thoughts at some point or another. There's actually a term for unhelpful thoughts called cognitive distortions. So, the type of work that I do is called cognitive behavior therapy. And it's looking at how our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors are all linked because they are. And we all have these common, we could call them thinking traps, we can call them unhelpful thoughts, cognitive distortions. And examples could be like an all or nothing thought. So, like, I'm never going to get this done, or um, I always this, or if I don't have if I don't have an hour, I'm not going to do it at all. Right. Those are kind of some examples. Other great examples that are very common. So if anybody listening is like, oh, I do that, you're not alone. We all have these thoughts. Another one is the should statements. Like, I should do more.
Mhm.
I should have been able to get it all done, right? So these are all very common yet unhelpful thoughts. And they're automatic thoughts that we have. Our brain just kind of spits them out at us in a way, given the world that we live in. And it's hard, but it's our job to be able to identify that's actually not true, right? So all thoughts are not facts. So that's another
Mhm.
really important reminder. So
Yeah.
just because our brain is telling us something in the moment, we don't have to believe it and we don't have to give attention to every thought that we have. So if we're like, I don't have time for that, or I'm never going to be able to get this done, we could take a moment and pause. And something that we do in CBT is we examine the evidence. Where is the evidence that I'm never going to get that done? Right? Or where's the evidence that I'm never going to get through this challenge that I'm getting through? And then we can look and be like, well, I've had similar but different challenges in the past and I got through them. Maybe it
Mhm.
was hard, but I did it. And then we can go back to that thought. So again, the mindset shift, we can go back to the thought that I'm never going to get it done. And then we can tweak it. And I talk about this actually a lot in my book because it's about making tweaks. I think the word change is really overwhelming. Nobody wants to change anything. Change is difficult. If it's a good change or a bad change, it's overwhelming. But if we just tweak it, it seems a little more realistic. It seems a little more doable. So we can tweak that thought. Instead of I'm never going to get it done or I'm never going to get through this, it could be something as neutral and as simple as I don't know, but I'm going to try my best. Right.
Mhm.
And just that, if I say to you guys right now, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it, but I'm going to try my best. Like, how does that make you feel?
Yeah. It's changing the
Yeah.
language. You're changing the language on how you yeah, it kind of motivates you a little more and gives yourself more grace
Yes.
when you're
That's exactly
moving
what I was hoping
through.
you were going to say.
Right.
Yes. As opposed to I'm never going to get this done, that thought just like shuts it down, right? Like
Mhm.
it feels crummy.
Right.
And then, like, I give up. If I'm never going to get it done, why am I going to try?
Mhm.
But if we're like, I don't know, and I'm trying my best, it's leaving it neutral, right? We're not saying, like, I got this. I know I'm going to get it done. I know I'm going to succeed because we don't know. That could set us up for failure also. But a more neutral, balanced, grounded thought is going to leave us being like, all right, I feel a little more in control. I
Yeah.
have the control to do this. And I think when women feel stuck, the problem in a way is that we feel like we have no control. We lost
Yeah.
control. I'm
Yeah.
stuck and there's nothing I can do about it. But we can take back that control by looking at our thoughts and tweaking the way that we talk to ourselves.
Yeah. I think this is so powerful because a lot of us, like you said earlier, we say should. I should do this. I should do that. So that brings me to the topic of like balance and also boundaries. What kind of boundaries or should we be setting as a woman today, because we've been so programmed to believe we should all the time? What are
Mhm.
some of those things that we should be looking at when we're trying to set those boundaries in our life and create more balance and do the things that light us up and be able to have the cup full to be able to say, you know what, I'm going to do this because I want to do it, not because I should do it.
Right. So I love that you already did, like you kind of got around exactly where I wanted you to go. So with the should statements, if we think about it, like how does it make us feel to say I should? It leaves us feeling like we're like feeling guilty or like
Mhm.
something's wrong with us if we don't do it. Right. And I like to counter it with who says you should?
Yeah.
Like if you're like, I should be doing more, who says? Who is saying that? Right? Is it society putting pressure on us? Probably. Is it somebody else? What's going on where that should is coming from? And then how can we turn it? How can we tweak it? How can we shift it to work for us? And that's the key.
Mm,
How can we
mhm.
shift it in a way that's going to work for us? And you came around to it. I think you said, like, what do I want to do? Or what do I choose to do? Right. So a simple shift in that one word, I choose to go to the gym today. I choose to eat healthier. I choose to go to sleep a little earlier, or I want to, right?
Mm,
Not I should. So, should, if you don't do it again, is going to leave you feeling like all this pressure was on you, feeling guilty and shame. But I choose to, and I decided not to, is a little different, right? It feels a little
Yeah.
lighter.
Yeah.
So, it really, words are so powerful. And I love that you even said the word balance, because I think balance is one of those words too that everybody strives for balance. But what is balance, right? Like, what does balance mean? What it means to you probably means something different to me. So when we talk about balance, I like to take a step back and ask people, let's define what balance means to you. Because balance can mean something also different to you today than it did a year ago, or maybe in a different phase of your life. And that's okay. And that's the important part, right? That self compassion, that kindness, like it's okay if your life doesn't look like what it looked like a year ago or years ago. It is not supposed to. Life today is different than it was then. You are in a different phase of your life than you were then.
mhm.
So balance is difficult, I think, for people to achieve because they're not really defining what it is to them. I don't believe there's ever a 50-50 balance,
Yeah.
right? Like in whatever part of life. So
Yeah.
I like to think of it actually as life is a pie. Like we have a pie and it's life. And different parts of your life, different times in your life, that pie looks a little different, right? Maybe there's a time that you're like 80% home life, 80% family, and like 10% work and 10%, social or, whatever it is. I think it's never really 50-50. So we have to get away from
I
that
love
thinking
that.
that it should be, right?
Yeah.
I'm
I love
so
that
glad that you
reframe of the
pointed that
balance.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because
Yeah.
I think if you are constantly trying to, focus on maintaining balance across every area of your life, you will literally drive yourself crazy. Like, I remember I
It's
used to
impossible.
be one
Yeah.
exactly, it is. I think and I love that you pointed that out because you're absolutely right. You cannot have absolute equilibrium across every area of your life because like you said, sometimes your home life is gonna be 80%. Sometimes, your work life is gonna be 20%. And I think that when we understand that nothing has to be perfect and nothing has to be like complete balance, it really allows us that grace and that space to being able to move through just our life in a much peaceful, lighter kind of way as well. I'm really curious about kind of going back to what Sherry was talking about with boundaries because, oh my gosh, I feel like we as women, it's one of the biggest struggles. I think that a lot of us have to navigate is having boundaries. And here's something that's coming to mind as well as the holidays are around the corner. And as women, we're doing all the things, we're juggling all the things. And I think that can add additional pressure On top of like, depending on where you're at in the world, we're in the winter months, the days are shorter. We've got all of the seasonal, challenges as well. And so when it comes to boundaries and maintaining, I guess, keeping your cup full and finding that, we'll say, balance within yourself, that peace of mind. How can we navigate boundaries? And for some of the women that are listening who may don't even know how to set boundaries or what boundaries are, can you dive into that a little bit, Dr. Rachel?
Yeah, yeah. So whenever we talk about boundaries, I like to start by reminding people to remind yourself that you deserve this or you are worthy of this, right? I think with setting boundaries, it can be really challenging. And we have to remember that we are worthy of this. We are important, right? If the second we start putting ourselves last and last and last again, it's going to be really, really difficult to be setting boundaries and to be sticking with. So we can set boundaries because we matter. And then in order to protect what is important to us, right? So maybe that's, I guess, if we use holidays as an example, right? Like maybe you are choosing to not go to a certain holiday event this year because it brings up a lot of stress or it is bothersome in some way to you or your family. And that is your choice, right? There's not a right or wrong. I like to say the right is what feels right to you today. Because
Mhm.
again, like you could be feeling different today than you did a year ago, and that's okay. So, to kind of take the time to think, what is important to me? And in order to figure that out, I often say, think about what it's going to feel like if you're there versus if you're not there. It's the thought that actually follows the behavior that's more important than the behavior itself. Meaning, are you going to beat yourself up over not going or going afterwards, right? What thought is going to carry with you? What feeling? And if you decide it's best for me and my family this year to not go, then it's about setting a boundary, right? And again, reminding yourself that you are important and you matter, and then stating clearly what your boundary is, maybe to the other person. And I think the other important reminder with setting boundaries is to expect resistance, right?
Mhm.
Expect it. And if we expect it, we can be prepared for it. And by being prepared for it, what I mean is we have sample scripts ready to go. Because in the moment, when we're caught off guard, we get emotional and we're like, I don't know. Okay, fine, I'll just come. Right. As opposed to if we expect it, we could be like, okay, this is what my boundary is going to be. This is what I'm going to say. This is what I'm going to say if I need to say, or this is going to be my plan of action. So, kind of having a plan ready to go with sample scripts can be really helpful. So, an example could be like, there's just so much going on this year. I'm so sorry. Like my family and I decided like it's really best for us to not go to the whatever dinner. We really look forward to seeing you in the new year.
Mhm.
Right. Hopefully they respect that. That's that. But if you need to have some other plans. And then getting back to boundaries about being women and taking care of themselves with everything going on, again, it all comes back to communication. It's how you communicate things.
Mhm.
And in these moments, you want to sound confident, even if you're not. So you want to, again, present it in a way that we take the emotion out of the equation.
Right.
It's like, this is what I decided to do, and this is what I'm doing. So I'll give you an example of me going to the gym early in the morning, for instance. Like I went this morning. Last night, I prepare the whole family. I'm like, you guys, I'm waking up early. I'm going to my gym class. To my kids, I'm like, I will be back in time to wake you up. I'll run in the shower. We will get everything together. And like, it's like, this is the boundary I'm setting. This is what I'm doing. And I'm letting them know I'm communicating it in advance so they know what to expect. And then,
Mhm.
like, that's that. It's a fact. I stated it. It is what it is. So, again, it goes back to, though, that it matters, right? Like, my son last night was like, well, why do you need to go to the gym? It was like, because that's mommy's me time, right?
Mm.
Like, I think communicating that to our kids is also useful because then we're modeling these behaviors. But, like, this is how mommy takes care of herself. But we state it as a fact. It's not like, oh, I don't know. Okay. Maybe, like that's going to be wishy washy. And that's going to mean, you know what? You can convince me to stay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
When you try to come to a decision, whether, like you said, you gave the example of the event, like the family event. So
It can
many
be
women,
hard. I do want to acknowledge that I
I
know it's
just
not
say,
easy.
yeah, a lot of women go through that, right? Because they're like, I don't really want to go to my husband's in law's house, whatever
Well,
it is.
some things we might, we have to compromise.
Yeah, there's some compromise, but
Yes.
how do you protect your energy is what you kind of explained that. You kind of said, I try to, be confident in those decisions and protect my energy at the same time. What am I willing to give and what am I not, right? Intuition plays a big part in our decision making, right? When you agree with that? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah,
So when
especially
we
for women.
yeah. So sometimes, like, I have learned through our friendship, me and Whitley's friendship, is that, sometimes, like, I used to be very impulsive with my decisions. If somebody invited me somewhere, I would go out of like guilt. I would say yes immediately. But what I've learned is that, you know what? Maybe sometimes I need to sit with that, feel into it, take the emotion out of it, then react in a way that is kind and diplomatic or whatever. But like you said, it's your reaction and everything. And I think sometimes the overthinking plays in where some people will react so strongly to something and it comes out wrong,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely. So I love that you said that because I think and I love using kids as examples actually. So like kids react, right? They will act out of emotion, they react. And, hopefully me as a parent to my children, hopefully I'm teaching that like we need to sit with this, we need to pause, and then we can respond, right? So we impulsively react oftentimes as adults also. And what we can do in these situations is try to pause before we decide to do anything, really, right? Like to pause and check in with ourselves and be like, how does this feel? What do I want? What do I need? Maybe what's working, what's not working. And it's okay to be like, hey, let me get back to you, right? Like an easy thing to do is just like, let me check my schedule. I'll get back to you. Even if you know that you do want to go or don't want to go, let me check my schedule. And then you pause, you sit with that, and then you can decide. And an important reminder when it comes to this is oftentimes saying no can actually mean saying yes to you. And I think
Mhm.
that's really important. So again, it goes back to that compromise. Like for the in laws, maybe you need to go, maybe you don't, but maybe there's something else that you can say no to then maybe say yes to
Right.
yourself.
Right.
And I want to add a little thing there that if you do have to go, right? Like if it's a holiday thing, it's in-laws, you really feel like I quote should, although we know we
Mhm.
don't like the shoulds. What I'm gonna
Yeah.
recommend is that you create moments when you're there for yourself. So
Yeah.
I've done this before. Nobody's gonna question if you have to go to the bathroom. Escape to the bathroom, take
Yeah.
some deep breaths and
Love
do what
that.
you got to do to create a moment of self care for yourself. Or,
Yeah.
like, you know what? I'm going to take the kids outside for a walk real quick. It's really because you need the walk, right? So, I think if you have to do some of these things, it's really important to create those moments for yourself because it's going to make it a little easier when you're there.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be quite as bad of maybe what you would have expected or thought if you really take the time for yourself as well.
Yeah, no, I like there's so many things, there's so many nuggets here, Rachel, that are coming through, like communication being huge with boundaries. Absolutely love that. I think you're right. And I think that communication doesn't always come natural for everybody. And so oftentimes it's the communication piece is huge with a lot of things in boundaries, especially when it comes to checking in with yourself. And also what Sherry just touched on was your intuition, right? And so, oftentimes we'll feel that those little hits of like, ooh, this feels like tight. This feels a little heavy. And oftentimes like our bodies will all automatically signal if it's a yes or if it's a no, right? And then it's being able to use that communication to being able to then, communicate that to the people around you. But I would love to kind of touch a little bit on that intuition piece because you said it, you're like, women are huge when it comes to intuition. So I'd love to hear
Yeah.
a little bit more about that from you.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because I was going to say that I actually talk about this in the book as well, that the mind body connection is real.
Mm,
So we feel things in our bodies and our body is sending us signals all the time. But unfortunately, the world that we live in is telling us go, 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 go. And we don't take the time to actually check in, right? So Sherry, like what you said was like your go response is to say yes. But if you were to take a moment to pause and be like, how does this feel? What is my gut telling me? What is my body signaling to me? You might get a completely different response, right? Or you just said yes. And then you're like, oh, that actually doesn't feel
Yeah.
good. What did I do?
Yeah.
So we actually, as humans, the mind body connection is real. Women in particular, I think, are better, so to say, at having this intuition, but then it's about taking the moment to hear it. So we often miss these signals. And what I say is our body is giving us signals, which is data. It is information. It is
Yeah.
data gathering, information gathering. And if your body is telling you like something feels off, something feels tense, you're all of a sudden like tightening up, feeling like anxious, that's a sign,
Mhm.
right? We can ignore it, but if we ignore it, then we just keep moving forward and it maybe gets worse and it becomes other things. Or we can be like, wait a minute, my body's telling me something. What is it telling me? And what do I do about it now? Right. So
Mhm.
we gather the information and then like what's our next step? Well, now what do I do with that information? Right. So
Yeah.
it's constantly giving us signals. We just miss it too much, unfortunately.
Yeah. I think also, like, you talked about the word, like, go, 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 like hustle, right? And I think a lot of women are living in that hustle mode right now. And I think they're starting to see a lot of women we talk to are starting to see that they've been doing it all wrong. And they're starting to feel that pull of, like, oh my God, I'm so unfulfilled right now where I am. I don't know where to go from here. And so sometimes they feel like they should stay in that 9 to 5 job that's giving them
Making you
nothing, really. Yeah, and there's so many women on this listening to this right now probably that are working that 9 to 5 that are just like they're zombies. They just don't feel like themselves. They're not happy around their loved ones. They are tired. They're also overthinking. If I do something, it's kind of late for me now, and I don't know how I can step into it. And so you talk a lot about that too, right? And I think is your what is your perspective on a woman who might be feeling this way, especially in this day and age where we're coming to the realization that it's all programming. I think most of us are recognizing that. So what is your take on this big
yeah.
topic?
So the first thing I would say is that if you're saying to yourself that I've been doing it all wrong or that I failed, is to start there and shift that, right? Because it's not that we're doing it wrong. Maybe that what we're doing isn't working for us any longer, right? Because we can't go back. So I like to focus on what's in our control. The past is no longer in our control. It happened. The future, all the what if thoughts that we all have, is future thinking, also out of our control. All we have is the here and now. So if you're thinking that I've been doing it all wrong, I would actually start now and be like, it's not that I've been doing it wrong, but what I've been doing is no longer working for me
Mhm.
today.
Mhm.
And the power of the word and what can I do differently today? So let's not wait until the new year. Let's not wait for the new job. Let's not wait to lose weight. Let's not wait for the partner. Let's not wait for all these things. Instead, think what is the teeniest tweak, the teeniest step forward I can make today
Yeah.
that's going to start making me feel more fulfilled or bring me more joy, right? And it may be simply saying no to something, or it may be I'm going to call my friend and meet her for coffee, or I'm going to go take a walk today, or I'm going to take a bath, or whatever it is, right? But it needs to start now because when we start getting in our heads, we overthink, we wait for the perfect time, which the perfect time, there is no perfect time, but today is the right time, like right now, and then it never happens. And then we just kind of continue on this hamster wheel or this cycle of feeling stuck, feeling out of control, and there's nothing I can do. And there goes my thoughts, and I feel miserable because of it.
Mhm.
Or I can start right now. I'm going to make the decision to make a change or a tweak. And what is it that I can do today? So also focusing on what you can do versus what I can't do. Right?
Right.
What I'm not gonna do doesn't feel good to say. Like, I like to use food as an example for this one, but like, I'm not going to eat carbs, for instance. Feels yucky as opposed to I'm gonna add a vegetable to my meal,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, I
So
like
it's
that.
all about framing, the way we frame our goals. What can you do? What is in your control? What is realistic
Yeah.
and you can actually do today? It might simply be I'm gonna drink an extra sip of water. Like you might think that is so little and nothing, but it starts adding up. And then you do it and you're like, oh, that wasn't so hard. I could do it again. What else could I do? Right.
Right.
But if we start thinking we have to overhaul our whole life, this is actually in my the introduction to my book. Actually, I talk about this. If we start thinking we have to overhaul our whole life and change everything,
Yeah.
we are going to do something for a day or two and we're going to throw the towel in because
Yeah.
it's not sustainable.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But if you're like,
Yeah.
I'm going to start today just by making this phone call, just by making the doctor's appointment, maybe even putting that off, whatever it is, check, done. It feels great. It doesn't matter what it is. It is a sense of
Mm,
accomplishment and it helps you take back control. You're taking
yeah.
action.
I love that. I think you're absolutely right about that. It's stacking those small wins and those small habits on top of each other versus trying to build the entire, skyscraper overnight. It's like laying brick by brick, right? And I think that that helps our brains too with the building on top of that. So it's kind of like that reward kind of system, right? I think I don't know what it's called, but our brains operate that way where it's like when we get something and then like we're rewarded for it, we're training our brain to continue with that behavior. But one thing that I'm really curious about, because I'm a bit of a recovering high achiever. So as like high achievers, I think for us, it's like we get so much dopamine from checking off the list and all the things. And so when
Yeah.
we get really amped up to like set big, goals and things that we want to accomplish, we're really trying to like tackle everything all overnight. And I think from experience, what this has taught me is like either one, I'm setting myself up for failure, or two, I'm burning myself out. So when it comes to that personality type, like high achievers, what are some of the things that you recommend for that personality type?
Yeah. And I work with a lot of women the way that you just described. Like I think a lot of women probably listening, a lot of women that are going to be buying my book, like that is the person and I'm probably one of them too. So again, it goes back to the way that we frame things. And in a way, it's almost like tricking our brain. So I like to tell my clients, for instance, let's break down that to-do list into a today to-do list. Because the endless to-do list can
Yeah.
feel really overwhelming and we feel like a failure if we don't get through it. But if I'm like, today, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, boom, boom, boom. I
Yeah.
just met my goal and I accomplished it. Right.
Right.
So I think that's one small thing that we can do is to just create kind of a today list and a not today list. And then the other thing I like to do, it is going to seem so silly, but I had to do this actually when I had my first child because I would get through the day and be like, oh my God, I got nothing done today because I was,
Mm,
like keeping my child alive and feeding him and doing all these other things. But I didn't get anything on my to-do list done. So what I did was a few things. One is I lowered the expectations of myself and I was like, okay, this is enough. This is what I'm going to get done. And what I also did was put things on the list that seemed so simple that I knew I was going to do. So they didn't really need to be on the list, but I put them on the list. What I mean by that is I did laundry. Like, of course I was going to do laundry, but like I put it on the list. I checked it off.
mm,
I, like, kept my son alive. I put it on the list. I'm not kidding. Like, I needed to know that I got something done today. So, like, just add those things to the list. Like, it's funny. My husband
yeah.
actually jokes with me because I'll do something and he'll be like, was it on the list? I'm like, nope, but you bet I'm going to write it now and check it off.
Yeah.
I
But
love that.
that's that dopamine response. Like,
Yes.
yes, it feels so good.
To cross things
So,
off the list. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
So, like, I woke up today. I mean, if you need to put that on your list, put it on your list, you
Mhm.
know? But again, it all goes back to just the way that we think about things and reframing our thoughts. Because if you're only putting the really hard things on the list and you kind of never get to them or you didn't get to it today, you're going to be like, I didn't do anything today. But you
Yeah.
actually did,
We actually did.
right? Yeah, you did so much. Like, really, we could put so many things. I cooked dinner,
Mhm.
I walked my son to school, I did this, I did that. So sometimes in certain phase of our life, again, I think, it depends where we are in our life. You might need to kind of like pull back a little
Yeah.
and do some of these things we're talking about, right? Maybe in a different phase of your life, you don't need to do that. But for me, when I had my children, like I really needed to pull back and do that and be like, okay, today I'm not getting anything work related done, and that's okay. And I'm doing X, Y, Z, like keeping my son alive, feeding my son, doing the laundry, taking the walk. Like that was, yeah, to
Yeah.
be honest, it was if I showered, like that was the goal every day. I'm like,
Yeah.
am I going to get in the shower today? Like
Yeah.
right away postpartum. It's like if you took a shower, that is a win.
There's wins.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. We're
That's
moms,
Yes.
so
so we
true.
totally understand, Rachel.
Yeah.
Every
But like,
win, yeah.
but you just have to reel it back a little bit and like kind of really embrace the phase of the life that you're in right now
Yeah.
and understand. I think this is the biggest part. Understand that it's going to change, right? So like just because my goal is to just get showered today doesn't mean that that's going to be the goal for in a month from now, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe a month ago, I was like achieving a million things and had all these things going on in my life. And that's just not the phase I'm in right now. But we have to expect that and accept it. If we can't accept the fact that our life is going to look different every day, every so often, we're going to be feeling bad because we're going to be stuck in that other place. And that's where people really feel stuck because they're like,
Mm.
I should be able to do it because I did it last time.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, yeah.
last time was a year ago, or last time was during the pandemic, or last time you were in a different job, or you didn't have
Yeah.
kids.
I'd love to talk about your book, Rachel, that's coming out here soon. But first, I just want to just spotlight the work that you're doing out there and the impact that you're having on women who need this help, who need this guidance, need that roadmap. You know, it's amazing to see the work that you're doing and how you've been amplifying your work. I mean, you've been on Oprah, on the Mel Robbins podcast. Any of our listeners, I'm sure y'all are fans just as much as Sherry and I are too, which is amazing because these are big platforms that you get to really amplify the work and the message that you're putting out there. But really curious to know, you know, what was that experience for you being interviewed by Oprah and Mel Robbins? What did you learn personally as a woman doing this type of work? What did you learn from those experiences?
Yeah, thank you so much for mentioning that and asking because they're definitely highlights of my career, I would say. As much as I mean, really, everybody that I have the experience of working with, even my individual clients, like I really am so grateful. And especially for my clients, to be honest, because I always say I learn more from all of you and my clients more than anything else, right? Like more than I could have in a textbook. So I really appreciate all of that. And those experiences in particular, I've taken, I'd say one big message away that Oprah actually said backstage, right before the second thing that I did with her. And something that she said, I'm going to paraphrase it a little bit, but something she said that I've really taken forward with me, and I tell it to as many women as I can, especially women that are like about to do something, that might be challenging for them. I like to remind them, and this is again what Oprah said to me, is you were in this room for a reason.
Mm.
Right. And I think that's really important because so many people have doubts, self doubt, or imposter syndrome, or like, why am I here? I shouldn't be here. But you are here for a reason. And then she followed that with, I want you to share whatever message you're here to share. So it was kind of like, she didn't really say this, but paraphrase. It was
Yeah.
kind of like, I don't care what I ask you on stage. I want you to share whatever you're here to share, right? Like you have a message, you have something that you want to get across, and I want to make sure that you share it. So since that experience, actually, every time that I do a speaking engagement with other women on a panel, whenever we're backstage, people are always nervous. And it's actually something that I've started to say to them. I'm like, just let's take a breath and just remind yourself you were asked to be here for a reason. And now take a breath and share that message. Like, just do it. Right.
Mm.
Because I think we all have moments of self doubt. And Oprah, I think doing that in that moment, knowing if people were nervous or not, I think just put everybody at ease and was an amazing lesson that I've carried forward. So yeah, and the experiences I've had both with Oprah and Mel Robbins and with others, I think are just, to be honest, I still can't believe it. I have moments that I'm like, wait, really? Like me? Who? Is that who you're talking about? I remember after my first experience with Oprah, I came home. I was actually like 7 weeks postpartum when her team reached out to me to do this speaking engagement. I remember and it was with my second, right? Yes, it was with my second. And I remember turning to my husband and be like, how am I going to do this? Like I'm breastfeeding this, that, and he's, I don't know if it was me rubbing off on him or what, but I always say we make it work. And he's like, Rachel, we're going to make it work. You're going to say yes, we're
Yeah.
going to figure it out, and we're going to make it work. And then I remember coming home that day and he was like, how was it? And I was like, how was what? He's like, how was Oprah? And I'm like, oh my God, I was with Oprah because like, I think I was in like a little bit of fight or flight mode. Like
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
breastfeeding, I was pumping. I brought my pump with me. Like, to be honest, my mindset was not physically there. I literally was like, I got to do what I got to do so I can get home to my baby and like feed
Yeah.
her. So it was like a little weird moment when I got home and all of a sudden I was like, "Oh my god, like was I really just with Oprah?" I don't think it hit me until later.
It's almost like you're between timelines. You're like, I'm the mom mode, but then I've got this career mode that's like, holy crap, I just got invited by Oprah. Like, you
Absolutely.
didn't have time to
Yeah.
process, and then probably hormones and everything going on in your body. But
It's so true because
yeah.
actually then the next time that they invited me, I had more time in between and I
Mhm.
wasn't. I don't think I was breastfeeding that time. And it was a completely different experience preparing for it. Like for the first time, I just was like, I don't know. I got to figure out where I'm going to pump. I got to like, my only priority was like, I remember talking to the producers on like beforehand. I'm like, is there a green room? Like, where can I pump? Like, that was my only question. Like, I was like, forget about anything else. I'm like, how am I going to pump? So it's in a way, I think it worked out for the best that I, like, wasn't
Priority.
fully aware of what I was doing. I somehow did it, and again, I think that's well, I know it's the fight or flight response. That's our body and our brains doing what it needs to do when it
Yeah.
needs to do, which
Yeah.
is incredible. That's the stress response. But no, I'm very grateful for these incredible experiences and grateful for both of you to even have me and to be able to amplify my message this way as well. So thank you.
It was
You're
our pleasure. It's our pleasure to be able to have you on and talk about your new book that you're going to
Mhm.
release. So do you
Yeah.
wanna talk a little bit about the book When Life Happens?
Yes, thank you so much. So yes, it's available for pre-order now and it comes out in April. So it'll like hit your doorstep or in the stores. Years ago when I was in grad school, I feel like it was one of those things that everybody's like, "Yeah, I want to write a book. I want to write a book." And I kind of was like, "Sure, I want to write a book." And I always say a goal without a plan is just a wish. And for me, it was a wish. It really was a wish. I did not have a plan in place. And I, again, feel fortunate that some publishers came to me and was like, "Do you want to write a book?" And I was like, "Actually." And this is the book that I always thought that I would write. Although I think people expected me to write a different book, which might or might not. I'm not announcing anything, but might or might not be number two. But this is the book. Like, I literally, I say I eat, breathe, sleep, live CBT, cognitive behavior therapy, like we said
Mhm.
before. And this book is literally, as my clients call it, all of my Dr. Rachelisms, all of my pearls of wisdom, all of the reminders that I give people are in this book, but in a extremely approachable, simple way. Like literally the things we talked about today really are highlighted in this book that like there's no reason to wait. It's about shifting our mindset. So the idea of it is to really equip women with the tools that they need for when life happens. Because life
Yeah.
happens. Life
Mhm.
happens. Stress happens. Life happens. You're going to get stuck in traffic. How are you going to react? You're going to get invited to the in-laws for the holidays. Do you want to go or not? How do you respond? Right? So it's literally that like for when life happens. And the idea is that I want you to have the tools now and
Mhm.
start practicing them. So when life happens, it's not like, "Oh my God, what do I do? How do I do that? Do I do this? Do I do that?" Nope, I got this. This is what I do. This is how I set a boundary. I got it.
Yes.
And it's again about taking back that control. So the subtitle is the mindset shift you need to manage stress, build confidence, and break free because
Ooh,
it's really
love
all
that.
about that. Right.
Perfect. That's all we need.
Yes.
That's all we need. We don't need anything else. Yeah, look at the title.
Right. No,
Go
you
grab
need
your
my
book.
talk.
Go grab the
Yes.
copy. April
Yes.
2026.
Yes.
We will push this
Exactly.
episode out closer to as well, but right now our listeners are listening in December. But
Yeah.
we are so happy to be able to help you with this book. I'm sure it's going to be so meaningful to so many women that need it, as well as the podcasts that, we have and all the podcasts you've been on and the shows you've been on. So every little piece of work that you're doing is making a difference. And I think, yeah, every day we celebrate those little wins. I wrote a book today. Tomorrow I'm going to write another, or I might just be invited to another show.
Or not, or and I think and again, or not, and that's okay,
Or not. And
right?
that's okay.
Like this is
Yes.
the phase of my life right
Love it.
now. And it's like I actually want a little break. I want to like actually somebody had asked me about a second book and I said, let me just finish this one first. Let me just
Yeah.
be in the moment and appreciate and celebrate this
Yes.
one. And I
Yes.
talk about that in the book too, actually, about it doesn't have to be the what's next, right? Everybody's like,
Yeah.
when are you going to get married? When are you going to have kids? When are you going to have another kid? What's next? What's next? What's next? And again, that takes us out of the moment. That takes
Out
us
of the
away from the
present.
present, right? So let's just enjoy today.
Yeah.
And I always say, we'll see. Like it leaves it open, it leaves the door open. I don't know. We'll see. But for right now, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah, and it could
And that's
change,
okay.
right? We learn that sometimes we think
Exactly.
of an outcome and we want it to be a certain way, and we're stuck on that, and we're not allowing ourselves to be able to navigate different options should they arrive,
Mhm.
different opportunities, right? So it's so important for you to be present and go with the breadcrumbs, go with what's calling you today, and then see where it
Yes.
leads. That's a surprise of life, right?
Yeah.
And that's the emotional flexibility that I also
Yeah.
talk about in the book, that we have to loosen
Mhm.
kind of the screws in our brain, I like to say.
Mhm.
We have to loosen the screws in our brain to be more flexible and open, as opposed to
Mm.
all this rigid all or nothing thinking,
Right.
right? And if we're
Yeah.
more flexible, we're open to those opportunities as opposed to a fixed mindset, which is like, this is the way it is, this is the way it has to be. I'm sorry, but you're going to feel really disappointed,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yes.
I mean, I share this with my clients all the time. The fairy tale life that you imagine as a kid is not reality, right? Like today, it is probably not this, like your life is probably not what you imagine it to be. And that's a good thing, right? Like it's a good thing. You are where you are for a
Yeah.
reason. And I
Yeah.
think, again, we have to be flexible in the way that we think about things and know that it's going to shift and that's okay.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
the thing is when you get that thing too, then you're gonna ask yourself, "What's next?" So,
Right.
Yeah.
it's
And then
gonna
you're
be a
always going to be
never-ending cycle.
racing for the next
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The Chronicles of a High Achiever.
Absolutely.
She's
Yes.
changing.
Well, I'm
But
telling
yeah,
you that
it
my book, I hope
We're gonna read it.
will help you with that.
Yeah.
And the idea of the book also is that I want you to come back to it. So, like, I tell people,
Mm.
like, start it. Maybe you pick up some things. Maybe in another phase of your life, you're like, you know what? I could benefit from that again. Pick it up again. So it's something that you can
Yeah.
always come back to as a tool in that toolbox as well.
Yeah.
Love it. Super powerful. Love this.
Yes,
We're gonna
thank
put
you.
everything, all the info in the show notes below, everyone. So go grab your copy. Rachel, thank you so much for being here today. This was such a nice, like, just filled up my cup today having this conversation. Yeah,
Yeah.
so, so good. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And you guys both filled my cup up as well. So, thank you for having me.